Now, David.
Yes, sir.
Episode?
Or Epstein didn't kill himself.
Yeah, that's the one.
That's the one?
That's the one.
Hail Satan.
I had the brain file was working. I picked the wrong card.
And then...
Yeah, I picked the wrong card. I'll get the right one next time.
Got it.
Anyway, on today's segment of Epstein didn't kill himself, we have new, and listen, YouTube, if you even think about pulling this video for the C word.
Are we doing 2 fingers? 2 fingers. 1 hand, 2 fingers. 1 hand, 2 fingers. There you go.
If you think, about pulling us for this episode, I want you to know that we are reading explicit CDC guidelines from the NPR. Okay? This ain't Fox News. Okay? This isn't Breitbart. This isn't Daily Wire or any of the other evil publications you're not supposed to read about.
This is in your mom's house.
NPR.
All right?
Okay? This is what the CDC tells us to do. We are following CDC guidelines.
Don't be stingy, Terrence.
Other conclusions of viewers and listeners, results may vary. So, the NPR, it's not really a meme. It's just a breakdown of the...
Where the body's hidden, Garth.
Of the situation. New COVID-19 guidance from CDC. Get this. Focuses on individual decisions.
Let it hang. Have a drink. Enjoy yourself.
I'm low on water.
A sip. Then a sip it.
If you would like to have your company branded on this glass, reach out to us at our email.
Put your index finger over the top part, please. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just
so yeah, if you want to get your logo on there, we got you covered. David, I can switch between the cameras. I can be off camera.
Good.
If I turn something, I know
good.
Even if I'm talking.
Maybe you should.
So now when that looks awkward on film, now you know why. Anyway.
If I get a questionable package delivered to me within the next few weeks, I'm going to know who it's from.
If you get one of any number of 87,000 IRS agents heavily armed and at your door asking questions.
With a couple of AKs. Where's your fucking fiscal income?
About that $600 COVID check you tried to steal. Remember that? I have a feeling that story will be making another reappearance later in the episode. Anyway, damn it, David, we get way off 2 tracks.
So sorry.
The reason why Epstein didn't kill himself this week, I know.
This is the first week that he hasn't killed himself. Fuck me. Well, God damn it, you can change that.
Of all of the weeks prior, he may or may not have, but this week
he definitely didn't.
Is because I know the purpose of this segment is to usually tell you about government or special interest malfeasance in the past that could be suggestive of such actions in the future. But today we want to use it to remind you of something your humble co-host here had to say not a couple years ago, early in around March or April of 2020.
Well, we were just fledgling podcasters.
I think that I think we started at the end of 2020. Yeah, we started at the end because the apocalypse was like early on. We started right before the election.
20 episodes.
September of 2020. And from our very first day, other than telling a couple joke episodes and getting our feet underneath of us.
Getting our family. It was basically a family Zoom call.
We've had a theme about this topic underlying our discussions about it, that individual decisions are not only important,
necessary
to come to real practical solutions about things like this, as uncomfortable as those conclusions may be. But also, even if it didn't have that, this is kind of a fundamental civil right that we think that representative democracies of, by, and for the people should uphold in all instances, no questions asked, because we're the land of the free. Yeah, those notions of the country that we live in were questioned from the beginning. But again, an underlying principle of David and I that guided us all throughout those last 2.5 years were, individual decisions are important. And that's a right to be respected, regardless of how scary the headlines are. CDC agrees. And
interesting.
On August 11th of 2022.
Interesting. Now they're coming around to our ideology.
Now, that's just the title. I'm just going to run through the 4 points real quick. Point 1, Quote, those exposed to the virus are no longer required to quarantine. Strange. Okay. Point 2, unvaccinated people now have the same guidance as vaccinated people.
Thank you so much.
Point number 3, students can stay in class after being exposed to the virus.
Holy fuck.
That doesn't have anything to do with this not being seriously harmful to kids, does it? I mean, students tend to be a little bit younger on the age spectrum. Anyway, I digress.
Does this not feel like they're like pulling back a little bit?
Yeah, a little bit. Point 4, before we talk about the thing in its totality, is quote, it's no longer recommended to screen those without symptoms. I remember when a certain orange man was like, you know what? I think we're testing too much. And I think if we test a lot, we're going to find whatever we intend to be looking for, which is a lot of positive tests.
Speaking of
he didn't say it that eloquently.
Wasn't there a TikTok?
But that was the takeaway.
That was almost totally devoted to proving that orange juice could test positive for COVID.
Yeah.
That a potato could test positive for COVID. Like, it just...
I forget all the objects, but it was a lot.
There was a lot of different things that could never absorb a virus into itself and replicate it again to be tested positive for COVID that tested positive for COVID. So the whole point is that all of the follow the science, all of the things that you were told during that time of panic, it turns out it was fear-mongering. It turns out that you should have just done what you always do during cold season. Protect yourself. Stay
you
away
make
from
individual decisions.
Exactly. You go to work. You go out. You take your risks. You take your jab. If you want to get a vaccine for this cold, go for it. You might experience some symptoms. If you do catch this cold, you might experience some adverse symptoms. Maybe if you're at a risk, you might experience more adverse symptoms. Like, again, they never took the time to say that also, you might want to take care of your own general health in the interim, before the shot, before this, before that. Take care of yourself. Get out there, work out. What was the average weight gain per month for an American? I think it was 3 pounds. 3 pounds per month.
Yeah, it was
3 to 5. Like, we became more unhealthy.
Stay inside. Don't move. Don't get any sun. God forbid you go outside for this thing that is literally killed on contact by UV rays. Don't do any of that.
You can't say that because it's not factually backed up by science, Dane.
Anyway. Oh, yeah, I can't say that now because that now contradicts.
You see how it works?
Yeah.
You see how it works? Because we're not following the science. Never mind the fact that when they were pushing the science hadn't even completed itself before they pushed the science. Never mind that. But please.
By talking about all that we just talked about then following the then science would now not be following the science now, even though the science that's now is the science we were saying back then.
It's so complicated. It's science.
Listen, here's the
best way I can surmise it is it's science. It's confusing. Okay.
Here's the thing. Now, when they tell you, as we discussed in the Culture Corner segment, that not only do you don't engage with them on social media, you just post fact-check their sites. And definitely if you see them in public, don't talk to them.
Use the VPN.
Because they're just going to argue really hard with you about why they're right. So don't talk to them.
And you're not going to have any good answers for any of their questions because you don't have any ground to stand on. But definitely don't talk to them.
That's exactly what all of the mainstream articles thought about your humble podcast host here for the last 2.5 years. That's what our most successful of all social media accounts, our original TikTok account was up to 10,500 followers, and TikTok nuked it with a shadow ban to the point that it wasn't even salvageable after that. For saying what is now CDC guidance. Now, listen, you can be super critical, and this argument passes the laugh test against David and I. Guys, things change. It was worse then. It's not so bad now, so the guidance changes. I get it. but you have to acknowledge that that's a convenient out of anything we have to say about the
We
subject.
did what we thought was right at the time. Like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
So did Hitler.
But judge them by the fruit they
I'm
bear.
gonna go
right?
mechanism.
Oh,
Am
no.
I pronouncing that?
See, now you're getting me off the top of my head.
I'm sorry. Manichaeism.
Oh, yeah, that one.
Yes. So like Hitler thought he was doing the best for humanity. So that's just a cop-out in our eyes, per se.
Yeah. So listen, all I'm saying is the argument passed the laugh test, but it's a very convenient one to have. So, neutral listener in the middle. Since we can't convince them, maybe we can. Well, our side's already convinced. To those of you in the middle, who do you trust? Them, us, or your own eyeballs? Who was saying what 2.5 years ago? We have a record of it. We have 107 episodes before this where you can go back and listen dates and times and what we had to say and how that lines up with CDC guidance now.
I'd argue we had more evidence.
We're ready to get run out of society, though, for having those views.
I'd argue that we had more evidence precluding this particular situation than we gave ourselves credit for. At least two of the major manufacturers of the vaccine that was being shot into your arm that was going to make you, super sore. Maybe I had somebody in my family that really reacted to the Moderna vaccine. I'm going to say the Moderna vaccine because it was one of the vaccines that can't be held accountable for 75 years.
But we're not saying they did anything wrong.
We're not saying
YouTube.
that.
We're saying nothing else.
Never would we say that.
Other than the fact that it is a vaccine manufacturer and the fact that it does have exemptions from liability granted by the United States government. Those are facts. That's all we're saying.
All we're saying. And I'm not even saying that company in particular had paid billions of dollars in reclamation claims for injuring people that had taken their pharmaceutical substances.
In other contexts. Non-COVID related contexts.
But they did also say it was totally safe for them to take, but then knew that they would make more profit.
Then they would get fined.
Exactly. So they weighed the cost-benefit analysis and then just fucked up a bunch of people that were Americans and never were held accountable for it, except for the buy-off, but which is a small price to pay. What's the price of a human life, Dane? One life lost is too many?
No, one life lost is a tragedy and a million lives lost is a statistic.
All right, Stalin. Anyway, all we're saying is that how many lives were lost to COVID and how much of our freedom was costed by COVID. That's what I'd say.
Costed by COVID. Yeah.
We see what
the man is saying. So, David, are you ready to get into the main?
I thought we weren't done with that, but please.
Oh, I didn't. I saw.
No.
That's why I asked. Anyway, yeah. CDC now.
It's just like I want to drive this point home.
Okay.
Like when they tell you to trust something, and you're going to put your whole trust in it, think for yourself. It's a dichotomy that we preach nearly every episode, if not twice an episode.
And listen, shameless self-promotion for the WMD podcast right now. If you want to be able to be, if not smarter than, at least predictive of government behavior months or even up to 2 years out ahead of time. How do you do that? They hate that WMD Podcast has figured out this one trick. What's the trick? Think and do the exact opposite of whatever they tell you to do. They are almost always wrong. And again, we bring up this point all the time, whether they're always wrong as a matter of pure incompetence and stupidity. And they just keep stumbling backwards into the wrong policies. You would think eventually, through blind ass luck, they stumble in the correct policies even for the wrong reasons. But they never do. The policies are always the ones that happen to hurt me and you the most. Like we joked all throughout COVID. It seemed like the driving motivator behind all policy outcomes throughout that time, Tom Woods says this all the time, is that it's driven by the metric of, does it make people happy? If it does, they can't do it. Movies, can't go. Theater, can't go. Being outside with your friends at the beach, can't go. You having fun, son? Can't go. That was what drove all the policies. That's weird, man.
By the way,
maybe that's blind stupidity.
Within the last 50 years, it was the greatest shift in financial structure between classes that's ever been seen. The rich got a hell of a lot richer, and the poor got a hell of a lot poorer. That's all I will say. I'll drop the mic there, and let's go with.
Well, I do just have to tag on to that last point.
Tack it.
Is he's correct about that? And my reply to that is, okay, if the rich really did get a lot richer, the question is, would they have gotten that much richer in a truly free market that wasn't so utterly dominated by government that government could just arbitrarily decree in the alleged land of the free that businesses should be shut down, their owners arrested if they didn't comply with local policy or whatever, whether it be vax passports or masks or whatever, shut them down, destroy American lives and businesses on the government's simple say-so. Does that sound like the free market?
Except for the ones that pay us.
Right. Except for the ones that lobby us. Does that sound like a free market to you? Think about our viewpoint however you want, that maybe we're radical free marketists who think that the free market can do anything the government can do better, right? The old Michael Jordan commercial. And maybe we're crazy for believing that. Or maybe we have an extensive history of seeing how it goes when government has that much control and what happens. If you're really concerned about the rich being richer, ask yourself, regardless of the motivations, which direction does it seem to be going and under which type of model that they're arguing for? Is this happening in a truly free market? I suggest not. Maybe trying that version instead of one of total government control is the way to go.
Just an idea.